I here. This is a reading for the sign of Taurus. We're going to do a Celtic cross spread with a Thoth deck, and what we see on the bottom of the deck is going to represent what you don't see coming. And once we get an idea of what the general message of this reading is going to be, we're going to pull 3 cards from the shadow deck to see what's going on in your subconscious, and to see if there are any further clarifications we might need. So let's just see what happens. Okay, so today we are tuning in to the sign of Taurus. So if that is your sun, your moon, or your rising sign, or however else you choose today to identify with the sign of Taurus, you can use that as a way to interpret the messages that are coming through. And if the details do not seem to fit your life or your situation, that's okay. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. And if none of the details are really seeming to fit, you can always check your other placements, or you can just stick around and see what's going on in the world of other Tauruses. Oh, there we go. So let's see what messages we can get today. Are there any things that we should think about? Are there any things that we should meditate upon? Are there any warnings that we need to be made aware of? Are there things that perhaps we should try to look out for? Things we can possibly avoid? Or are there things that we should try to move towards? Positive things that we can incorporate into our life? Lessons we can learn? Things we can move towards or put our energy in so that we can make our lives a little better, a little nicer? What messages can we get today? What things can we think about, tap into, and learn about for those who are trying to tap into the energy of the sign of Taurus? Okay, that feels pretty good. So let us see what our Celtic cross has for us today. In the present moment, we start with Temperance, Arts. Interesting. So we're trying to balance things. We're trying to incorporate different sides of our nature together in a balanced, sort of coordinated way so that we can take the strengths of each of the pieces of our character and put them together to build something bigger than the sum of its parts. We want to forge something beautiful. We want to bring some art into our life. So perhaps you're trying to start something creatively or start something creative. And the message of this card is to perhaps think of that process in terms of the extremes of who you are and what you bring to the table, and mixing and matching those different sides of yourself so that you can build something beautiful out of it. Okay, so let's see what crosses that. It's the Ace of Pentacles. We'll look at that. So we're perhaps trying to build something in our physical lives. We're trying to make something. And so far I'm getting the message that this is likely telling us that in order to produce whatever this thing is that you want to create, this new opportunity you want to bring into your life, into your physical world, you need to put a little bit of yourself into it, right? So you want to take your emotions, your thoughts, all of the different energies inside of you that make up who you are, the things you perceive, the way you look at the world, and try to balance all of those out and inject them into something in the physical world that you can then be sort of proud of. It's a little piece of you that is no longer just a sort of spiritual thought. It's something that is actually in your world. The Wheel of Fortune. The Aeon. Well, look at that. The Empress. Ooh, okay. The Prince of Swords. This is interesting. We have the 8 of Discs, the Knight of Swords, the 7 of Wands, and the 10 of Wands. Interesting. Yeah, this is definitely about creating something. Okay. So a lot of major arcana popping up here. So we've got the Wheel of Fortune, the Art card, the Aeon, and the Empress, all sitting there, sort of making a nice little T here that's crossed at the top with the Ace of Discs. And above all of that is a Prince of Swords, who is, I see that as him trying to sort of pull together all of these different facets of whatever it is that you're creating. But maybe it's not a thing that you're making. Maybe it is an opportunity of some sort that you're trying to be open to. And perhaps you're trying to figure out, how does this fit in with you and the things that make up you? The Temperance is also like a card of balance. Well, I'm really emphasizing that it's a card of balance here, but perhaps it's not balancing these forces to put into something, but maybe it's about balancing these forces so that you can introduce something into your life. Maybe it's a receptive rather than an injective process. So that's interesting. But we have our 3 major arcana there, very powerful ones. Right, we have 10 and 20. There's sort of a nice symmetry here. Right, this is the end of the first 10 arcana. This is the end of the last 10 arcana. The only thing that is preceding and following these is the Fool, which is sort of off in the ether over here, and the World, which is just everything. Right, and in the middle of all of it, we have the Empress birthing some opportunity into this nice little cross section here. So that's our major arcana. In terms of our court cards, as I've already mentioned, we have a Prince of Swords, but we also have a Knight of Swords over here. So that's interesting. We've got the 2 male energies, or masculine energies, from the court system of the suit of swords. And those are our only court cards that we have. So it's air, right? There's some thought here. Definitely some thought here. In terms of our other minor arcana, as I said, we've got the Ace of Discs there, but we also have an 8 of Discs. So this is something new. This is something that is the sort of work put in to building something. So there is definitely something being created here. Whether that ace over there is representative of that or not, there's definitely some amount of creation here, creative activity, or at least some productive activity. Though I definitely feel some creativity coming here with the Empress and the Art card. So that is our Earth energy. For our air, we have our 2 court cards, and that's all. For our no cup energy, no water, right? Nothing from the suit of cups, other than the little bit of water that's in the Art card. And then we have our 2 cards from the suit of wands. The 7, the Valor card, and the 10, the Oppression card. Okay, so that's the burden up there at the end of all these things, that perhaps whatever it is that we're creating is not going to be simple. It's going to take a lot of work. We're going to have to put in time to build whatever this is, and it's going to take effort and responsibility to maintain this thing once it's built, whatever it might be. So, all right, let's just go through now and see what is happening with these cards. We'll go through our sort of our 3 axes here. So in the middle of everything, we started with the Art card. So there's something being forged here. Something being forged out of a sense of balancing extremes. And whatever it is that's being forged is representative there by that Ace of Discs. So if you look here at the Art card, right, there's a sort of cauldron there in the middle, and she is pouring fire and water, and the 2 extremes are cooking something up. And that is what this ace is. So whatever that is for you, that is what we are making, that is what we are building. Now, as I said, it's very interesting that this thing in the middle is sort of sandwiched in between the 10 and the 20 from the arcana, the major arcana. So perhaps whatever this was, the inspiration has perhaps come to you in the recent past. Perhaps you had some sort of, some almost a vision maybe of what this was that you wanted to create, and perhaps an almost serendipitous opportunity had presented this idea to you. And so this is, I believe, the sort of beginning of a wheel that is now spinning, and it is cooking now here in the middle. This is the actual building process. So the Fortune card is almost like a creation. The card of Art is the actual thing itself coming into balance, and it's progressing towards the Aeon card. So it's like a past, present, future sort of dynamic here, which, that's naturally how that axis works, but it's really emphasized in particular by these cards. It's like it's a tunnel, right? The Wheel of Fortune is like the opening of the tunnel. The Aeon is the exiting of the tunnel. So the process in the middle is the forging of whatever this is. So something has been walked into, some portal has opened, some doorway has opened. We're walking through that. We're creating something as we go through this journey. And then as we exit it, that's the process of taking this thing and presenting it once it's come to whatever sort of culmination of whatever this is, project, opportunity, whatever this is for you. I don't want to be specific about it because it's, I mean, this is feeling very abstract to me, so I'm gonna keep it on this sort of abstract, sort of vague level, because the overall symmetry of this is just really nice. Like I said, there's this opening, forging, and releasing that's happening here, and underneath all of this, what is sort of representative of the forge itself. Right? This is the thing that's coming out of it. This is the thing that's being created and born, whatever that is for you. This Empress here is, in some sense, the cauldron that this is being cooked in. This is the pot that all of this is being poured into. This is that beautiful, nurturing energy of creativity, comfort, beauty, elegance. There's just this really nice, and you can see there's these two moons here. There's this nice feminine moon energy that is the sort of, it's the womb that this thing is being built in. And this is the thing, whatever that is, that's being built. And above all of that, we have what almost is like a puppet master here with the Prince of Swords. Right? He's pulling the strings. He's the one that's calling the shots. Again, in this creation that's happening here, he is sort of, I'm feeling, representative of the two-faced woman that's there creating these things. Right? He's the energy that's taking all of these ideas. Each one of those little people in his card is a different facet of you that you bring to the table in this thing that you're trying to build. And you're taking all of these different pieces and trying to sort of reel them all in, right? He's sitting on his chariot. He wants to move forward. He wants to create. I really feel like there's also like a masculine, feminine sort of duality at the top and bottom here. He's the one that is trying to pull the ideas together into this creative place. The Empress is the forge in which those things are built. The art is the union of those two coming together, and this ace is what it is that they're creating. Okay, and again, there's this timeline of this opening of this process, the process occurring, and then the aeon is the closing of this process. Once this thing has been built, it can then be looked at, analyzed, and progresses into the next place of whatever it is that this thing needs to be sent off to. So that's beautiful. There's so much nice symbology there. I really love that. Now, I'm kind of getting a sense that this might be how this is felt. This is sort of symbolic of the overall process of what's going on. This is, to me, indicative of what is actually going to be experienced in this. Okay, so this is like a macro level. This feels more like a microcosm of what is happening here. So here, with this ace of discs or pentacles, this is the work that is being achieved in the middle of this whole cross here. This is putting in the time to build, to check everything, to make sure everything is right. And I think this is something both the Empress and the Prince of Swords are engaging in when they're doing this creative process. Whatever energies they're bringing to the table, this is looking at everything and making sure everything is balanced and just right, checking all the boxes. So like, you know, if you're trying to like, such a mundane thing to bring up with all of this nice like epic energy is you know, maybe you're trying to file your taxes by hand and you're going through and you're looking at all the little boxes and, you know, okay, this thing goes over here, now this goes over here, now this goes over here. Maybe just to stick with this sort of alchemy sort of vibe, this is going through and checking all the ingredients and making sure that everything is in perfect ripe condition, making sure each ingredient is fresh, not overly ripe, but, you know, that it's in its perfect form, making sure that everything that needs to be you know, broken up is done so in just the right level of care and detail. This is the sensitivity to detail that's happening in this forging process. Okay, so that's what this 8 here is, and that's our present energy. Now, once this is done, look at the speed that's happening in this Knight of Swords. Look at how intense of an energy that is. That is the gust of hurricane force wind pushing this thing forward. So it's like once everything is put in the pot and everything has been created, it then has to cook a little bit, and then this is the injecting of intentionality into this thing, whatever it is. Putting that thoughtful energy into whatever it is that you're cooking up, and it's not a mechanical process. There's a sort of almost primal quality to this. It's forceful, it is thoughtful, it is structured and organized, but it's also wild at the same time, right? There's this energy of this horse. You look at the difference between a knight and a prince. The princes are always sitting on chairs or they are on some kind of chariot, but the knight is on a horse. The knight is out in the world. He is in touch with the environment. He is pulling from that wild energy in the way that the princes do not. That's why they are, in some sense, slightly superior to the prince, because they have that connection to that wild energy. And so this, as I said, is putting in the detail and the work to make sure everything is done precise and correctly. This is putting that powerful, thoughtful energy into it. It's air energy, it's mental, it's intentionality being the final ingredient in this cauldron as we're cooking things up. This is the physical stuff that's put in here. This is the thought that is also put on top of those physical ingredients that give them the meaning that allows them to be something bigger than just a boiling pot of ingredients. Okay, and this is also the environment. So this is making sure that whenever this process is, we can make everything as perfect as we want, but we need to make sure that when we are combining all of this, it's done in a way that has that excitement and intensity and energy that this night card is representing. That's the extra ingredient that needs to be put into this forge here, right? As we're going through this process of cooking everything up, this air energy is the secret ingredient, So that's what we're building. Now, what's the challenge? The challenge is the Seven of Wands, Valor. This is sort of, the card of having the high ground, sticking to it, knowing that what you're doing is the right thing, even if other people do not see this. And perhaps that's the challenge, is that as you're building whatever this thing is for you, whatever this process is, whatever you're alchemizing here, or just creating in the first place. Maybe you're not transmuting. Maybe you're actually just straight up creating something. But whatever this is that you're creating, this is the challenge of questioning whether this is right. Is this the right thing to do? Is this what needs to be made? Everything on paper looks right. Everything looks like it's adding up correctly. Everything seems to be a nice, harmonious balance. But is it? Is this the right way to go? Is this the right thing to do? When you're playing with forces that you don't fully understand, and the question is whether or not this is something that we really should create in the first place. And that's the challenge, is understanding that. And I think part of why that's a challenge is because we see in the future the Ten of Wands, the burden that comes from creating whatever this is. Once this is made, there is then going to be things that have to be done to maintain it. I often think of the Ten of Wands reminds me a little bit of the idea of one of the subplots of the novel Frankenstein. Once you've created something, you have the responsibility to continue maintaining it. You don't just create it and put it out in the world and then walk away from it. It's not a one-off. Whatever this is that's being constructed here, it's something that is going to take work to maintain. And so the challenge with the Seven of Wands is trying to determine, is this the right choice? Is this the right thing to build? All the ingredients are here. Everything you need to build it is in front of you. You have all the tools. You have all the opportunities. You've checked everything. It's working out. There's this intense energy that is above and beyond just the ingredients themselves that gives them a nice extra spicy flavor that gives them their meaning and importance. But do we do this? Is this the right thing to do? And that's why that's the challenge, because whatever this is, it's going to be work. So I think the message here is to reflect upon, if there's something you're trying to make, if there's something that you're trying to construct, everything's coming into a nice alignment to do so, but are you ready to take the responsibility of stepping through that portal, taking that opportunity, and moving into this new aeon to create this thing? Because it's not going to be easy, whatever it is. There's a certain amount of change here, and that's always a difficult thing for a Taurus to deal with, is stepping out of a comfort zone to move into something different. That can be a challenge. And so that's what this is about, is reflecting upon whether or not this is a challenge worth taking. And what we don't see coming is the Nine of Discs, right? That's a very positive sign that this is something that is fruitful, But the question is whether or not it's something fruitful that you want to achieve. You will be able to enjoy the results of whatever this is should you choose to be the creator of this thing. Though there is an isolated energy with the 9 of discs over the 10 of discs. This is enjoying the fruit of your labors to some degree in isolation, walking around in your garden and enjoying things on your own without necessarily having them be connected with your community. And perhaps that's the thing to reflect upon. What you don't see coming here is what kind of energy are we going to end up in if we take this path and we take on these responsibilities? Will we still be able to enjoy the fruits of our labor in quiet, peaceful solitude, or will this shake things up? Though perhaps, since this is in what we don't see coming, perhaps this is saying that you will still have that nice, quiet solitude. That the burden that is being carried is not necessarily one that's going to get us all up in the hustle and bustle of living life out in intense, speedy environments. Perhaps there is a quiet serenity that is achieved, even though there is work to continue maintaining whatever this is. Now, this is very vague, so whatever this is for you, take this message as it resonates with you. But to me, it's very clear that there's a creative process, maybe not a creative project, but a creation of something that's being forged by these two different energies. There's a timeline in which it's being created. There's the beautiful spot in the middle where it's all coming together. There's the checking of the details. There's the putting the mental intentionality into it to make those ingredients mean more than just the soup that they create. But we have to make a choice to decide whether or not this is something we want to actually make. All the things are on the table. It isn't going to be something that you're going to pursue. So let's see what the shadow deck has to add to this. So what is going on in your subconscious? Are there any clarifications or thoughts that we should be paying a little more attention to? Let's see what we got going on. Alright, so what do we have? We have a devil, the sun, and there's the Wheel of Fortune again. Interesting. Well, having the sun in your subconscious is pretty awesome, right? I see it not necessarily in its meaning of joy here, though. I see it in its meaning of shining a light on things. And with the devil inside of you, that's a sort of a darkness. So with those two cards next to each other, I feel like this is trying to get you to illuminate a darkness within you and taking a close look at it. Darkness is not in and of itself bad, but it can be destructive and it can be a void that can get us sucked in. In fact, I almost kind of get this vibe that the devil here is like a black hole and the sun is a star that has not yet turned into a black hole. But they're two massive gravitational bodies that are pulling in two different directions. One is light, one is dark, and neither one of them in its extreme is positive, right? You pull into the sun, you get burned alive. If you get sucked into the devil energy, you have like a you have a heavy, cold sort of darkness, a dark fire that burns you in a different way. And so with the Wheel of Fortune, I feel like this is asking you to look at those two extremes and decide, what's the path here? As we're deciding whether or not to make this, is this opportunity a devil opportunity or a sun opportunity? Likely it's somewhere in the middle, but what is it really going to be? Is this a spin that is a jackpot, or is this a spin that is going to be a bust? And I can't answer that for you. This is not going to be something that tells you what to do. This is not a message that's going to tell you what to choose. That's something you have to do, but I think this message is saying that all the cards are on the table, literally and metaphorically. You have the facts in front of you, decide how you feel about whatever this is, and then determine from there what you want to do with it. And what we don't see coming here in the shadow deck is justice, karma. Interesting. That's going to hit differently, I think, for everyone who sees this message. There's a choice here. There's a choice here for sure. There's an idea of whether or not this is the right direction. Something can be built here, something can be created, but what is it? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it a devil? Is it a son? You don't get to know the answer. That's not how this works. It's just here's an opportunity. Everything's lined up properly. Are you going to take that opportunity? It may be a bad opportunity. It could be a good. Who knows? But whatever that is for you, um, there will be definitely a understanding after all is said and done about whether this was the light or the dark choice here. Right? There's the balance between all of this. This is the sun, the devil, and you in the middle trying to decide which way do we go here. What is this kind of opportunity for us? So um, very interesting reading, very symbolic, very big, very deep. Not a whole lot of insight, just things to think about, things to meditate on. This is definitely a reading of just processing what this might mean for you, whatever this opportunity is for you. But definitely a message of everything is ripe for creation. Decide what you want to do with those tools when they're given to you, and that's the beauty of life is you're given all the things you need to make the future you want to make. You're presented with exactly what you need to do what you are able or ready to do. And then the choice of your life is what you do with those tools. Do you use them for good? Do you use them for evil? Do you create? Do you destroy? A little bit of both. That's what this is all about. This is a very deep message. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to walk around in the garden of whatever it is that you decide to create with your time here. And if you create something beautiful, you can spend your time walking in that beautiful garden. And if you create something destructive, you'll have to walk around in the waste of whatever that is. So this is not necessarily a binary good or bad choice. It's just this is a reading about thinking about consequences and thinking about how things play out when you decide to make choices. So very interesting, very interesting. Yeah, that's all I have for you today. I hope this resonated with you in some way, or at least an enjoyable experience. As always, if there are different meanings to these cards or messages come through differently for you than how I'm describing them, use your intuition to guide you through this process and see what the message is that you need to receive when it reaches you. But I hope this was helpful in some way. And if you have not, please like and subscribe the video, assuming you liked it, of course. But if you have anything you'd like to share, any comments you would like to give, please drop those in the comments section. Feedback, any ways that this, sort of hits for you, what this maybe means for you, anything you want to share. I'm always happy to hear from you guys. And if there's anyone that you know that would enjoy or benefit from this or any of my other videos, please share them as you see fit. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.